free speech, especially on colleges where you often speak.
Yeah.
Yet you are an avid supporter of a presidential candidate who wants to expand libel rights against journalists, supports restrictions on the internet, and condone violence towards peaceful protesters. Do you just decide to ignore these aspects about Donald Trump, or do you just use free speech as a defense for your polarizing comments?
No, it's a good question. So I don't think Trump endorses violence toward anyone. I've never seen any evidence of that. I think that's a confection. Trump and the media, I think it's a good question. But here's what I think about it. I don't think that the American media has done a particularly good job over the last 30 years. Does anyone here think the media has done a particularly good job over the last 30 years? No. Well, the American media has lied to and lied about almost everyone in this room. They do it all day, they do it every day, they do it as a matter of routine. Journalism in this country has become less about exposing the truth and exposing wrongdoing as virtue signaling among a small group of coastal elites. Well, the Overton window is narrowed so far in the media, the extent to which you can no longer say true things if you want to keep your newspaper column or if you want to have a successful job in the media, to me represents a sort of industry failure. And in those industry failures, well, that's precisely the moment when the government steps in. Now, what Trump is proposing isn't clear because he wasn't particularly specific about it. What he said was something along the lines of, it should be harder for them to lie about people. Well, who really disagrees with that? I don't think the libel laws in Britain are particularly great. They're way too strict, and they stop some journalists from doing what they should be able to do. But in America, you don't have that. And if a mild discouragement exists in law that prevents journalists from, and he was very specific on this point, he was very specific, if a mild discouragement in the law exists to prevent journalists from knowingly and deliberately lying about people, that's the key thing. This is mendacious libel, right? He was only talking about mendacious libel. Is that a bad thing? Stopping people from knowingly lying about people? The First Amendment doesn't give you any right to do that. If you're a journalist, you have a responsibility. Or does it? Who knows? But it's not as simple as you painted it. Not even remotely. And if we're talking about mendacious libel, there are several very good arguments that the American system deserves a little strengthening. And I say that as a journalist who exercises extreme free, I exercise my right to free speech, every day in full. And I wouldn't be able to operate without it. But you know what? I've never been sued because I don't get my facts wrong and I don't lie about people. So I have nothing to fear from this law. And if a little strengthening of mendacious libel curtail some of the excesses of the hard left in American media, I don't think that's such a bad thing. What was the third one you didn't like?
The third one was...
Oh, listen to him now, he's all crestfallen now.
Alright.
Come on, give me the third one, you can remember.
Condone violence towards peaceful...
No, I did that one, no.
Supported restrictions on the internet.
Oh, well, you're just wrong about that. You don't understand what he was saying. So what Trump was saying very specifically was we should look into technical solutions to hampering terrorists' access to the internet. He wasn't saying we should close down the internet, like you can't visit Reddit. What he was saying is, and he's right, that there... Well, you probably wouldn't go on Reddit, who knows. Tumblr in your case, maybe. What he was saying, and he's right about this, is that there are technical solutions in the way that the IP system works, where you can block off certain geographic areas. If Trump was to tell the FCC to do this, they have the power to do this because all the companies that run this stuff are all American. If the FCC was instructed to do this, they could, in theory, cut off 98% of ISIS's internet connectivity. It would severely hamper ISIS's ability to recruit, to market what they're doing, and to organize themselves. It would severely affect their ability to do all of the things for which they are now so globally feared, all the things they're amazing at on the internet. It would really, really harm them. They would have to invest in incredibly expensive data-enabled satellite phones. They wouldn't have access to regular internet connections. We could, in theory, if we wanted to, cut off the access of large geographies in the Middle East from communicating with us and with themselves. That's what Trump was talking about. It is perfectly technologically possible. It has very few free speech dimensions, and those that it does I don't think are very objectionable. Again, you completely misrepresented it.
Thank you for taking my question, and I completely support your right to speak here.
The brave man, Milo Yiannopoulos, is here with us now. Are we expected to feel sorry for men? Is that what this is?
I think it would have been ridiculous until really very recently for any man to make arguments like this. It's certainly ridiculous for anybody of even my generation. But I think with some justification, young men, particularly of 20, do go through life and they don't recognise the world that, for example, feminist campaigners describe. They do experience discrimination in education. They do feel as though schools can be architected against them sometimes. They get whacked on Ritalin for being too boisterous. When they get into the workplace and go and apply for jobs and all the rest of it, you know, they don't have all the same sort of programmes and foundations and extra schemes and all the rest of it. Yes, it would be ridiculous to have made this argument even perhaps half a decade ago, but I don't think it is anymore.
Right, but your main claim is about the gender pay gap, that actually that is a myth. And it's not a myth, is it?
Yes,
even
it is
today,
a myth, yes.
Well, it's not a myth according to the figures from the ONS, the Office for National Statistics, because even in November last year, they showed that the gender pay gap for all employees, full-time and part-time, still benefits men by 19.1%. That's their figures.
Yes. Well,
for full-time employment, just one moment, it was 9.4% less, and that's in April this year. Now, there is a narrow figure that they use too, which shows that hourly earnings in April 2014, with women working for more than 30 hours a week, were actually paid 1.1% more. But that's right. It's just that bracket. And actually, when you get men and women workers in their 40s, 50s or 60s, again, the gender pay gap is in favour of men. So it's a myth.
Well, you're right about all of that stuff, but you're wrong about why it's happening.
Well, hang on a second, though, because you made the claim in your piece, in your film, that women are not paid, or rather men are not paid more than women, and they are.
Well, you have to understand where the figures come from, right? These figures...
you must understand.
These figures are... You're going to excuse me,
no,
mansplaining, aren't you?
No,
these figures come from averages across society. They don't take into account the different life choices that women make. The reality is that women do prefer a more balanced life. When they go to work, even if they don't have babies, they take longer holidays. They tend to take more holidays. And the reason that you know, they are paid more, up to about 30, 35, 39, depending on whose figures you believe. The reason that flips
no, only
at the
between
end,
30 and 39.
The reason, no, that's actually not true. The reason that the figures flip after that age is because women make different life choices.
Right.
And if you take those life choices into account, no serious economist believes this stuff. It's repeated by politicians right up to President Obama, but no serious economist takes the wage gap seriously.
Caroline.
Well, I think some of those life choices aren't just a woman's life choice, it's a family life choice, and part of that is determined by who's the higher income earner. So when you get to the point, I mean, look, I had my kids in my 20s, but more people are having them in their 30s and later. You make a decision as a family about who's got the earning power. Now, in a lot of families, the male partner in those relationships, if it's a male-female relationship, is often earning more. So the life choice they're making is based on who's bringing more in. But this goes back to the fact that I believe that we still have a huge amount of job segregation when it comes to gender.
So
hang on.
You're making an assumption.
No, can I finish my point?
You're making an assumption this
is
based on some sort of...
No, I hadn't finished what I was going to say. I think a lot of jobs that are high-income jobs, engineers, for example, we have hardly any women and girls in that area, and we need to have that in there. Often in school, the choices that are put in front of girls are for the less-paid jobs and professions. If you look at the number of women... If you look at the number of women who work in health and social care compared to men, it is much higher, and there's often a low value and a pay value.
Should we be advertising those to men?
So what I think is the way to address this,
some professions are over.
I think the way to address this is about tackling the way in which boys and girls are encouraged to go in certain jobs. I would actually say that actually one of our problems in our schools is what we're seeing is actually working class kids less likely to end up in the higher paying professions. That worries me an awful lot, and that's where I do think working class boys are often losing out. But there is also
not really a class issue.
It's the pay over.
You're making an
part of
assumption
the class issue that you don't get into the jobs that pay the highest paid wages.
Well, let Milo come out. So, I mean, Milo, one of the things you do mention, which is talked about a lot, is that girls are outperforming boys at school.
Right.
More of them are going to university. Employers prefer them. This is anecdotal.
Yes.
I have to say. You know,
no,
they're
it's
more
not
driven.
anecdotal,
well,
actually.
no,
there are studies now.
Even if
3 weeks ago, a study came out that showed that men and women going for the same job with the same qualification in STEM fields, the women are 3 to 1 more likely to get the job, because it's a generational thing. You know, it's happening very, very recently. In the last 5 years, a lot of stuff has happened very, very fast.
Right, George, what do you think? Do you think at the moment that there is beginning to be a turnaround, that actually, despite the pay issue, which we can agree to disagree on, that actually men are still paid more than women for the same or very similar jobs in a lot of cases?
It's just not
according
true.
To the statistics.
Well, it's a feminist myth that will not die.
But are men now feeling the
true.
pressure of the success of women?
No, I think, though, where you make an interesting point is that there is an improvement, there's a convergence. And if you look at younger people, you're probably right, that actually there's a difference between people in their 20s and 30s than those who are a bit older. But I think part of that's not to say there's not a problem. There's still a big problem. We've still only got around 20% of FTSE 100 companies that have got women.
Again, this is based on faulty assumptions. I'm sorry to
No.
interrupt.
Well, let me just finish.
Assumptions.
It's not a faulty, because actually I think what we need to do better at is enabling women to resume a career after they've had a family and continue to climb up. Yes, I know, but because one of the things I think, it's all very well to say, of course, they take a break out of their career to raise a family, but as a country we've got to get much better at enabling them to resume a career and carry on.
Whether women have a family or not.
I've got the editor screaming, we must end it now. Sorry. We've run out of time, thank you.
I'd come back on and talk about Greek debt next time. It's safer territory.
Normally, if I want to avoid interjections during the speech, we just tell people there's a cake sale. Please keep going. You're helping to send more white boys to college.
Black Lives Matter movement with black supremacy. Black people have never been supreme. Donald Trump.
I didn't hear a question.
Why do you equate Black Lives Matter?
Wait your turn. Wait your turn. Black privilege. You should get him back in.
That's white supremacy right there. What is it? Give him the fucking mic. Give him the mic.
Stop cutting the line. Stop cutting the line. Stop cutting the fucking line. Stop cutting the fucking line. Wait your turn. Bitches.
Milo, tell him to give him the mic. Milo, tell him to give him the mic.
Okay, and I can be in here because I'm a fucking ticket.
Shut your ass up.
You understood that this was
I'm gonna bully you, Milo. Don't let this guy bully you, Milo.
I'm very happy to talk to you if you'd like to come up with you at the end of everybody else. Wait your turn and treat others with the same respect that they treat you. Treat others with the same politeness. Nobody else is standing up and demanding special treatment.
Listen,
You're standing up and demanding special treatment now, sir. The questions are over. You're demanding to be heard on the basis of what? If I don't answer a question, I'm racist.
listen, I really don't think that should end like this in the show.
I'm going to be back in 5 minutes. If you'd like to say hello, if you could queue up.
Oh. Are people... Alright, there's 8 people, 14, 35, 60, 72, 85, 99. Okay, you can start.
Okay, hello everybody. I'm Milo Yiannopoulos. I'm a columnist and the technology and social justice editor of You're literally just here for diversity. Shut the fuck up. I'm the technology and social justice editor for Breitbart News, America's best conservative news outlet. I'm very incensed by JCPenney. This is JCPenney. Because JCPenney is sending very unhelpful messages to young girls. And I'm going to read you, this is an exclusive thing, you won't get this anywhere else until Sunday. There's an exclusive preview of a column that will be published on Breitbart by me, which is fabulous, about fat shaming and body positivity. So here goes. You were here or you weren't, you know? This is why you should follow my feed assiduously at all times. No! JCPenney. Fat people absolutely should hate themselves. The clothing retailer JCPenney in an irresponsible swipe at America's swelling market of obese shoppers, has produced an alarming video urging fat women, or prospective Ghostbusters as I like to call them, to love themselves as they are, instead of looking after their health, eating right, and exercising. You can see the commercial logic, of course. America's obese population is growing, both numerically and horizontally, and JCPenney sells clothes. Someone has made the brilliant decision to market this once-respected brand to women who wear fumigation tents as prom dresses, and who think of chocolate, you're being very distracting, but who think of chocolate as a food group. In fact, realizing how easy it is to sell fat... The Asian's distracting me. Realizing how easy it is to sell to fat women, I might announce a line of tea biscuits called Milo's Virtuous Snacks, with inspirational quotes on the boxes, such as, "Who's this? No, stop calling. Who's... Oh." With inspirational quotes on the boxes, such as, "You're amazing, even though you ate the whole pizza," and "Don't worry that your left arm's numb, that's just your fierce shining through." They're $19.95 for a box of 10, but you can't put a price on a woman's self-esteem or well-being. Well, JCPenney has, in fact. Don't look around, it's fine. We have freedom of assembly and freedom of speech here, okay? We're in Alaska. Nobody can stop you doing anything in Alaska. Well, JCPenney has, I suppose, but my point is I too can profit from your inevitable painful death via type 2 diabetes, alone in your married sister's attic, stinking of cat piss. Of course, I'm a fair bit cleverer than JCPenney. Fattening up these cows will just create inventory for my other business, safari parks featuring illegal hunting of adults with a BMI over 40. I think it should be legal, don't you?
I think so.
Basically, when you get to a BMI of a certain level, you should be able to just have, like, tranquilizer darts. Yeah. It should be real, like mooses here. In the long run, this sort of business strategy doesn't work. JCPenney is joining the ranks of consumer products companies following a business model to help their customers feel good about themselves until they drop dead from obesity-related illnesses. The problem is, when they die, they stop buying your XXL clothing. By the way, everyone who's triggered by this column is eating. Stop typing that angry comment and look down. Is there food nearby you? Yes, there probably is. I mean, you might think this is mean, but I'm upset. JCPenney is sending their customers to the great buffet in the sky earlier than intended, merely to turn a profit in the short term and get a few retweets and approving mentions from the liberal media. It's sociopathic and disgusting. JCPenney has been on the decline for years. Chains like Walmart and Kohl's have been, pardon the expression, eating their lunch for much of the past decade. Penny has gone through wave after wave of store closures, but have yet to turn around the ship. Their stock is off 30% since March, when optimism ran higher. That they would turn to pandering to obesity is a sign of desperation. What JCPenney has failed to realize is that the gravy train is an analogy for successful business. It's not a literal train covered in gravy. Although now that I think of it, that might appeal to this new customer base more than the floaty floral frocks that they have in the back. The left has been at the forefront of campaigns against smoking and alcohol, so it's weird that they're now championing the self-destructive ideology known as fat acceptance. I mean, I like a good meal and a good drink. We're going to go for a wander around, JCPenney.
Okay.
I like a good meal, a good drink, and a pack of fags as much as the next man, but it would be appalling to make a self-congratulatory ideology out of it. Healthy at any size is a myth, like the female orgasm. This all comes from feminism, of course, which is busily producing women who are suitable for nothing other than being part of a voting bloc, whinging on Twitter, and being the third wheel in a empowering threesome with a man who would never ordinarily have sex with them. The facts about obesity can't be denied. Obese women are more susceptible to diabetes, polycystic ovary syndrome, which is also linked to excessive body and facial hair, cardiovascular disease, lower back pain, knee osteoarthritis, lower fertility, and fat asses. Not that the dour, doped-up lesbians of third-wave feminism care too much about fertility or have much of a choice in the matter, but it's worth bearing in mind. Fatness raises the risk of several major cancers, can interfere with contraceptives, and leads to a higher rate of depression. Obese people are more likely to have a stroke, more likely to have heart disease, and are more likely to die. That is what JCPenney is encouraging. More crucially, obese... Not him, he's lovely. That's Will Magna, look, baseball Magna.
Ooh. Not fat in JCPenney. What a sight. Ooh.
Fatness raises... Oh, no, we've done that. More crucially, obese people are more than 4,000% more likely to disgust me, which is an equally crucial component of this. I don't have a link for that statistic. The research paper is still in peer review stage. Of course, feminists claim that most women in favour of body positivity are just curvy, not overweight. But that's unlikely. According to the latest statistics, over 60% of American women are obese. That's more than men. Girls are getting fatter at higher rates than boys. Some fat people argue that they're eating their feelings, but nobody has that many feelings. Secondly, if that was the majority of their diet, they could get into an airplane seat without accidentally suffocating the teenager next to them. Feminists will be happy to hear, however, that Burger King now has, what do they have now? They have Cheetos encrusted
with
macaroni. I wrote it down. No, it's Cheetos covered fried mac and cheese. So it's Cheetos, mac and cheese, frying the whole thing. It sounds. Incidentally, I'm now officially more popular than Cheetos. Look at this. Look, this is a Google Trends graph, which shows that I'm the blue line. I've just overtaken Cheetos in popularity.
More popular. This guy right here.
I am officially more popular than Cheetos.
That is crazy.
Isn't that fun? The body positivity push is part of a strategy to target millennials. JCPenney is also trying to push appliances toward first-time house buyers. But here's a little consulting advice for JCPenney, free of charge. Obese septum-pierced graduates of women's studies programs are not flushed with cash and will not be buying a home anytime soon. Millennials in general will not be buying appliances if Hillary is elected because appliance purchases involve credit, and credit involves income. But JCPenney, if it's so insistent on attracting millennial customers, should probably just sell vape juice and have tattoo parlors on site. I hear that they're planning to replace the changing rooms with tanks from SeaWorld, if their latest marketing push is anything to go by. The new spring-summer line is going to involve nose bags. You know what they are, right? Nose bags.
What is a nose bag?
It's a thing that you strap onto a horse's face so it can just eat without moving. Like, it doesn't have to do anything, it just goes to get more food in its mouth. As seen in the Jezebel office. Alright, I'm actually going to leave the rest of it now because you're going to have to read the column on Sunday. But it's very good and lots more one-liners and you'll enjoy it very much. The answer, though, in all seriousness, is not to turn retailers into citadels of blubber, but instead to encourage responsible behaviour. We are all too ready to condemn addictive behaviours when it's drinking or smoking in the United States. The political correctness and finger-wagging in this country is remarkable, but we seem to be much keener on encouraging addictive and destructive damage.
The Overton window is narrowed so far in the media, the extent to which you can no longer say true things if you want to keep your newspaper column or if you want to have a successful job in the media, to me represents a sort of industry failure. And in those industry failures, well, that's precisely the moment when the government steps in. Now, what Trump is proposing isn't clear because he wasn't particularly specific about it. What he said was something along the lines of, it should be harder for them to lie about people. Well, who really disagrees with that? I don't think the libel laws in Britain are particularly great. They're way too strict, and they stop some journalists from doing what they should be. Who knows? But it's not as simple as you painted it, not even remotely. And if we're talking about mendacious libel, there are several very good arguments that the American system deserves a little strengthening. And I say that as a journalist who exercises extreme free, I exercise my right to free speech, every day in full. And I wouldn't be able to operate without it. But you know what? I've never been sued because I don't get my facts wrong and I don't lie about people. So I have nothing to fear from this law. And if a little strengthening of mendacious libel curtail some of the excesses of the hard left be able to do, but in America you don't have that. And if a mild discouragement exists in law that prevents journalists from, and he was very specific on this point, he was very specific, if a mild discouragement in the law exists to prevent journalists from knowingly and deliberately lying about people, that's the key thing. This is mendacious libel, right? He was only talking about mendacious libel. Is that a bad thing? Stopping people from knowingly lying about people? The First Amendment doesn't give you any right to do that. If you're a journalist, you have a responsibility. Or does it? Trump and the media, I think it's a good question. But here's what I think about it. I don't think that the American media has done a particularly good job over the last 30 years. Does anyone here think the media has done a particularly good job over the last 30 years? No. Well, the American media has lied to and lied about almost everyone in this room. They do it all day, they do it every day, they do it as a matter of routine. Journalism in this country has become less about exposing the truth and exposing wrongdoing as virtue signaling among a small group of coastal elites. Well,
free speech, especially on colleges where you often speak.
Yeah.
Yet you are an avid supporter of a presidential candidate who wants to expand libel rights against journalists, supports restrictions on the internet, and condone violence towards peaceful protesters. Do you just decide to ignore these aspects about Donald Trump, or do you just use free speech as a defense for your polarizing comments?
No, it's a good question. So I don't think Trump endorses violence toward anyone. I've never seen any evidence of that. I think that's a confection.